Hello everyone, welcome back to another Total War multiplayer battle. This is going to be the Dark Elves versus the High Elves. I have this in pause because as you can see here, there are some Vanguard shenanigans going on. So for my army, where do we start here? I guess we start with the front line. I brought 3 of the Oblique Swords and then 2 Har-Ganeth Executioners. These are trying to counter any Swordmasters, Phoenix Guard, White Lions, basically any infantry that the enemy can bring. The Argoneth Executioners have a really good chance at killing, so I brought 2 of those bad boys. I don't normally bring them, especially against the High Elves, because the High Elves have those Sisters of Avalorn, of which there are a couple back there, and they can really destroy a Argoneth Executioner because they have no shield block chance. These Sisters have armor-piercing damage, so it's kind of a risk to invest a lot of money in them, but I decided, you know what, why not? Let's invest some money into 2 Argoneth Executioners, who obviously are going to really excel when the murder mastery is a prowess or mastery. I think it's mastery on them, right? Yeah, when the murder's mastery kicks off too when this bar is filled up. So to try and help them out, I also brought 3 groups of the flying harpies to try and rush down any of the enemy archers that were going to be present. Did not expect the Vanguard deployment, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. So we got 3 of those. On the ground over here, we have 1 group of the Cold One Knights that are going to be an anti-large armor-piercing Cold One Knight. They're okay. Honestly, I'm never super impressed with the cav of the Dark Elves, but they're not the worst. I think they're okay. There you go, glowing review. They're okay. Then we also are bringing the Charybdis, which I believe this is the first time I've ever fielded this thing. So it's kind of like a Hydra, but it doesn't have any of the healing abilities of a Hydra. It is also an anti-large creature with a bonus of 30 versus large. I bought this and the Cold One Knights to help deal with any dragons, because there could be 2, Lord mounted on one and then just another one they bring, or dragon princes, any large creature that the high elf brings. That's the reason why I brought this guy and the Cold One Knights. So I'm going to kind of test them out here, see how good they are. What is kind of neat is that they also come with a aura here that lowers leadership by -8, which is cool. I mean, anything that lowers leadership is always a very good thing. On top of that, of course, they are fear and terror, and then they also have a 35% missile resistance, which is really going to help them out a lot, because obviously this monster does not have a shield block chance, and its armor is, kind of low at sitting at 50, so the missile block chance is going to help when enemies try and focus it down with their archers, of which there are a lot on this battle. So that's going to be most of our units there. And then for our leadership here, we have a Sorceress of Shadows with the Pit, the Pendulum, I can never remember what the hex this spell is called. It's the one that lowers their melee attack and defense, I believe. The Enfeebling Foe, and then we also have Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma, which doesn't do too much damage, but the hit to the speed is also a pretty big deal in this type of game, so I brought that as well. Then in the flying mount here, we have Lokir Fellheart, a pretty good duelist for the Dark Elves. He also looks pretty cool with his little squid mask there. With the stats of 57 and 50 while mounted on a dragon, that is pretty good. Typically on mounts like this, dragons and griffins, they kind of lower the Lord's melee attack and defense to try and counteract the fact that they're on such a powerful mount. So having a 57 and a 50 is pretty good. The armor is not the best, but they hit like a truck with 520 armor-piercing focus damage. And then on top of that, Lokir Fellheart does also come with an ability to lower leadership around him as well, so it's going to be a -4. Tied in with the Charybdis, we're looking at a -12 just with their abilities, and then of course they have the Fear and the Terror. If you want to go down like a Terror route kind of way, you can stack those on top of each other. Then he also has the Helm of the Kraken, which is probably one of the worst, well, it's good and it's bad, because like a lot of the lords that have regeneration items, the regeneration is going to be on at all times, but the Helm of the Kraken is one that is only going to be engaged while in melee, so it's kind of like a vampire's hunger ability, but at the same time it also does give him a 9 to melee defense. So I can't say it's the worst, because having a 9 melee defense, especially on a lord that's like a duelist that wants to be in melee, is pretty good. I just wish that the regeneration was on at all times instead of just only when he was in melee. But anyway, it's still pretty good because the 59 will bring him up to almost a 60 melee defense on top of a dragon. Not bad. That's definitely not bad. And then I brought the Foe Seeker, the Deadly Onslaught, to try and support his already pretty high damage. And then Dreaded Duelist is going to be an ability that he can take, which increases his melee attack and melee defense by 26 and 27. Not exactly quite like Tyrion stats, because Tyrion I think could get to like 100 on both with his abilities stacked up on each other, but still Not too shabby. So that is going to be our army. And for the enemy army, with these Vanguard shenanigans over here, we have 2 of these Shadow Warriors, which have Vanguard deployment, obviously. They also have Stalk, and they have decent missile damage and really high missile range. So if you can utilize them effectively, because they are pretty expensive, but if you can get the damage done with their Vanguard shenanigans and their Stalking, I think they can be worth it. I don't know, it's rough, because there's so many archers for the High Elves, and I think they're all really good. Well, okay. The basic archer maybe is not that great, only because it's outshone by like everything else that the High Elves have. But still, the Shadow Warriors I think are pretty good, pretty expensive, but I think it's a cool use here because they are being supported by their lord, Aelith Anar, who is also Vanguard deployed, and with the items that they brought, they also have the Stone of Midnight, which is going to grant a missile resistance to all of the allies around him. And I think that's exceptionally, is the word I'm looking for, good if you planned on Vanguard deploying like they did, because you could be Vanguarding into an enemy's archer range, you know, you have no idea. So having that missile resistance there at the very beginning is very good because you could just counteract a lot of damage that the enemy will be shooting at you since you Vanguard deployed and you have no idea what you're Vanguarding into. So I really like that pick here. Depending on how much that is, I don't know if I would bring it every time if I wasn't Vanguard deploying. I may want to look at that actually after the battle, because if it's in like the couple hundreds, that may be one of those items that I cut unless it's situational. But definitely in a Vanguard deployment like this where you don't know what you're going into, I think that's pretty good. Also, speaking of that, we also have the Shadow Crown, which is going to be active if enemies are within 70 meters, and that's going to increase the speed of him and his allies, as well as the melee defense of all units. So it's like a let's get the hell out of here kind of thing, mostly. A very defensive thing, and also another great item to have on a Vanguarding Aelith Nar and their allies. On top of that, he just does a lot of missile damage, he has a lot of ammunition, and of course he has that duplicating ability, although I think that's an actual Lord ability, and I don't think they took it here. But they do have Dark in the Skies, which also affects allies around him, which increases their reload skill, so they're going to be able to fire off their shots a lot faster, which is a good thing to have. And then, you know, just martial prowess and all that stuff. So that is their Vanguarding force with their all those archers. It's pretty scary. There's a lot of damage there. And then they have even more archers back here. 2 Lothern Sea Guard, one with shields, which is over here, one without. And then 2 of these Sisters of Avalorn, which are the fire, magical damage, armor piercing. They are very expensive as well, but as long as you protect them, they are going to do a lot of work. And even if a unit gets into their melee range here, they're still rocking a 50 melee defense until their health, you know, is lowered by 50% because they're, you know, martial prowess there. So they can still be somewhat tanky, at least, you know, as far as archers are concerned. Their armor isn't insane, but still 40 is not bad for an archer either. So yeah, they put a lot of firepower into the archer components here. For the front line, they only really have 3 base experiment. I was expecting at least a Swordmaster or some kind of other elite infantry. So the Hargoneth Executioners actually in this matchup may not be the best. I mean, they could still just tear through everything that they brought. It's just like, you know, I brought them specifically for more elite infantry, but they can still do work in this situation. And then they have 2 of the mobile units here. We have one group of normal Dragon Princes in the back, which still do have a 70% fire resistance, which is pretty good. And then they also have a group of Silver Helms with shields. And then for their caster, we have a Mage of Life. Sorceress are the Dark Elves. Mage is the High Elf. Of Life with the Regrowth, the Shield of Thorns, the Earthblood, and then the Awakening of the Wood spells as well. Alright, let's get it started. So, at the very beginning here, I'm going to take some damage from these Shadow Warriors. I was, again, not expecting them. So our Harpies are going to kind of get chewed up here by these Shadow Warriors, which is very unfortunate as they kind of retreat. Also, I forgot to mention that they do have fire while moving, which also makes them insanely good. That's actually really good. Anyway, so we're just kind of getting shut up here, and I kind of rushed my Harpies up a little fast. So the thing that I'm worrying about right here is that I see that they have all these archers back here. They have these archers here. Now, I could just try and pounce on these archers with our Harpies, but if I do, I know that I'm going to just get shot up by the Lothern Sea Guard there, and then these Sisters of Avalorn. Also, I'm seeing these Sisters of Avalorn, and I'm like, oh my god, that's such a huge thing to worry about with our Hargoneth Executioners there and there. So I'm going to try and rush the sister line, but you can see that these Shadow Warriors are just demolishing our poor Harpies here. I do run our Sorceress into one of the Shadow Warriors just to try and stop them, but then she's just getting popped by these Sisters of Avalorn. Look at that damage! What was it, like 1 salvo from the Sisters, 2 salvos? And she is actually going to rout, but she will come back later. But I was trying to pin them down so that our Bleak Swords can get into these Shadow Warriors and do the damage. Here, I was just trying to get rid of some of their melee forces, especially the ones in front of the Sisters of Avalorn, so we can just pounce them really quickly. But at this point, you can see that 2 of my Harpies are already basically dead. This one is about to rout. They didn't really get much damage done at all. This one routed before they even got anything done, but they will be coming back. I at least get 1 into the Sisters because I know I need to stop them before they can do any damage to my Hargoneth Executioners because they're so expensive. And if I lose a lot of hit points this early on to the Sisters, then you know, that's very bad for me to lose Hargoneth Executioners that early on. So instead, I kind of sacrificed my Harpies here. I maybe was a little ahead. Like, I kind of threw them in there a little too fast. I probably should have waited until the rest of my army was up at least to the spear line. But they did at least get to distract one unit of Sisters of Avalorn. I got Lokir Felhard into the other unit of Sisters of Avalorn. I don't know exactly why I did this. So you're going to notice, you're going to be like, Toke, why did you move your cold ones and charge the front of the spearmen? I have an answer for you. And that answer is, I have no idea. I literally have no idea. This was not part of my insanely cool, like, I'm so smart plan. But they do kind of work out here because I'm going to get charged by the Dragon Princes. So my mistake of charging the spear line front, like, head on like this is going to kind of work out because I'm actually going to withdraw him. He's just getting pounded by the Sisters too. Look at that damage. And they're going to follow him into our Cold One and into the Charybdis. So it kind of worked out, but you probably shouldn't really charge Spearmen in the front in this situation with your Cold One Knights. I don't recommend it. I don't know why I did it. I have no good answer for you. Anyway, our Sorceress is back. It's just our casting spells here again pretty soon. And look, your Felhard is just getting pounded by these Sisters of Avalorn, trying to get some Bleachers over here who managed to rout one of the Spearmen. You can see that the Lothern Sea Guard are way over here just on the flank. They're going to be able to do a lot of good damage, but we have managed to destroy one of these Shadow Warriors. Another Shadow Warrior is half... where is it? Where's the other Shadow Warrior? Are they already dead? Oh, this is them. No, that's Lothern Sea Guard. What the hell is the other Shadow Warrior? They're so stealthy, I can't even see them. There's one, there's Lothern Sea Guard. Oh, there they are. They're getting terror routed. They have already shattered. Never mind. Sorry. So both of these Shadow Warriors, for the most part, are already down. The Spearmen are going to be closely following behind them. One is already routed. And then the other two, they can't really withstand the Hargoneth Executioners. We're going to be doing a lot of good work on them over there. These Hargoneth Executioners managed to rout off the... something, I believe. What did they rout off? I think they were fighting along the Sea Guard and maybe just killed them all. Anyway, they're getting caught up here on the Mage Life. That is not actually my intended targets. There we go. Now I'm going to micro them into the Sisters of Avalorn, which I want them to definitely cut down as they are focusing down Lokir Felhar still. The flanking, the flanking Shadow Warriors came back from routing, also doing some good damage here. We're hitting them with the Melkoth Mystifying Miasma because I want to try and just bring their hit points down to the point where they will just start routing due to the losses of their unit. The Lothern Sea Guard are also coming up here, and you can see we're just getting pounded by the Sisters, who are getting attacked by the Hargoneth Executioners. We're getting hit by the Shadow Warriors. These guys, Lokir Felhard is just taking so much damage, but we needed to bring down Aelith Anar, so we just stood there, we took the hits, and we just kind of burst them down pretty quickly. And I believe I'm going to escort Aelith Anar with our Sorcerers for a little bit. Meanwhile, the front line, there is only one group of Spearmen holding because, again, they're trying to fight against the Hargoneth Executioners a little bit. And we did a lot of damage here with the Cold One Knights. I don't know why I'm keeping them in melee. I think I'm just busy microing Lokir, because you can see I'm going to be flying back and forth, trying to dodge all the shots from the Sisters here, the Shadow Warriors, and these Lothern Sea Guard. So I think I'm just really focused trying to keep him alive, that I just never managed to pull out my Cold One. Don't do this. Don't let your Cold One Knights die to Spearmen. That's just such a bad trade for us. But anyway, the Charybdis, though, did a lot of good damage back there. As I was talking about Lokir Felhar getting shot over here, you probably noticed he was just wreaking havoc in the back line. He did a lot of damage to the Silver Helms and to the Dragon Princes, who are still alive. And they're going to be coming over here into the Hargoneth Executioners. I believe their target was probably the Sorceress, but they are going to do a rear charge to the Hargoneth Executioners, so we're going to be engaging them in melee. The Hargoneth Executioners, it's a long title, still do a lot of armor-piercing damage here. They are bonus versus infantry, not large, but they can still do pretty good against the Silver Helms because they've lost their martial prowess, so their melee defense is only at 34 right now, which is, I'm sorry, Dragon Prince, not Silver Shields. So it's not super high, especially when you compare it to the 40 melee attack of the Executioners. And we're throwing the Charybdis in here, which is the anti-large specialist. Lokir is still just getting shot at back here, by the way. I just kept dodging back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm still trying to tie up all the archers. We have oblique swords into the Spearmen. I thought that was the Sisters, actually. My bad. We managed to rout these Sisters. They are routed over here. The other unit is over here, barely hanging on with 4 morale. There's only 6 units to the model, but still, it's deadly. They still do armor-piercing damage, right? And you noticed there a while ago, we did manage to kill Aelith Anar with our Sorceress. Lokir Felhard is going to come back from rounding over here, and I'm just going to kind of leave him back here for a little bit because I don't want him to get sniped. Group of Silver Helms are coming back online here. The enemy is going to remark them, I think, into the back of the Bleak Swords as we manage to rout off the Lothern Sea Guard again and the Shadow Warriors, I believe, we routed off a while ago. The Dragon Princes, I do believe, will come back. There are those Shadow Warriors. And we're going to get shot up a little bit here by these Sisters of Avalorn, so we're going to need to try and get into them. But our mobile units, mainly these Cold One Knights, are going to be charging into the Mage of Life, but they are just on the edge of being shattered, so they are actually going to lose this fight and shatter off the field while they're fighting the Mage of Life. And so everything else for the most part, like, because this thing isn't that fast, so I'm going to need to just kind of slowly move the Hargoneth Executioners over here into the Sisters of Avalorn, who I think are trying to target Actually, I'm not entirely sure. These guys, I guess? Yeah, it looks like they're trying to target the one that has more hit points. Gonna bring Lokir Felhard back closer into the battle in case I want to use him to snipe somebody, but I'm trying to keep him away from all of the range fire, and like this is just... I mean, right now it is on our favor, but if these are allowed to live for a while, I'm going to be in some bad shape because they do a lot of damage still. So you can see here I dropped another Melkoth's Mystified Miasma on these Silver Helms to try and slow them down from engaging our Hargoneth Executioners, because I was hoping that the charge animation would kick off at this range, and then they would gain that like little burst of speed with the charge bonus and get into the Sisters. Unfortunately, this Mystifying is going to fade away, but it did really work. It did slow them down a lot, but not quite enough for us to catch up to these Sisters. So the Sisters are going to be able to fire into the Hargoneth Executioners, and you can see some of my units are routing my Sorcerers on the edge. Like, this guy's one arrow away from routing off the battlefield, and if he does that, then we're going to get a massive morale penalty. Just look at, like, he's at 6 morale right now. Hargoneth Executioners did get recharged by the Silver Helms, and they're getting shot in the face by the Sisters of Avalon, so they are actually going to be routing as well. We do still have a decent, actually really good Hargoneth Executioner up here, but they still do have ranged units there. They do have the Dragon Princes that can do cycle charging. You see we're taking some damage there, and they did manage to rout this unit off. The Cryptus is coming in to try and silence the Sisters of Avalon, so it's going to start taking some damage, and you see the Silver Helms are going to charge in to try and hold it back and allow the Sisters to fire, and it's going to take a lot of damage in this fight. Also, the Dragon Princes, I believe, are going to turn around. Yeah, there we go. And they're going to surround our Cryptus as well. I get one breath weapon off with the Lokir Felhard, but they actually turned around just in time, so they didn't really take much damage here. So we just have some slow-moving Hargoneth Executioners. We have an almost dead Lokir, an almost dead Sorceress, and the Cryptus is kind of getting ganged up on here, and its morale is on the edge of shattering right now, which is very scary, and it's taking so much damage. I just need to shut down these archers. I'm very worried at this point. Sending one of our Bleak Swords over here, but they are also on the edge of shattering. So it's a very scary situation, but luckily at the end there, the aura of, what was it called again? The Abyssal Howl, coupled with the fact that it causes fear and terror, was able to, with the army losses of the High Elves already, terror route the units around them, which then just did like a chain route, because there's another morale penalty when your allies are fleeing, and so it went kind of down the line. And since that part of the elf army terror routed, the rest of them are going to shatter. So that's going to be a GG. So good game, Helmishk. Hope I pronounced that correctly. That was on the edge. Like, it looked like it was in our favor, and it technically was, because I still have my leader. But again, like, one salvo from the Sisters of Avalon or that Lothern Sea Guard, and Lokir probably would have been dead. And then that would have just hit all of our units with a big morale debuff. Which probably would have eventually, well, actually, definitely would have routed the Cryptus, because it was on the edge of routing. So if we got Lokir sniped, at that point, the Cryptus would have then routed off, which then could have lowered our bar even more, which then could lead to other routes. Like, it, honestly, I think it could have been, I may be stressing this out a little bit, or exaggerating, sorry, but it could have been one salvo worth of Sisters of Avalon fire away from a loss. I'm pretty confident saying that. Maybe a couple salvos, but still, if Lokir fell, that would have been really bad. We still didn't have the Hargoneth Executioner, but they're pretty slow, and they still had a couple, archer units online that could slowly have, pick them apart. But in any case, good game. I made some mistakes in that game a little bit. Mainly the Cold One Knights was a pretty big one there, running them into the spears. They did get some damage done on the enemy cav forces, but that's only because they ran them into them, not because I did. I don't know what I was doing with the Cold One Spear. I have no idea. Like, I just threw them into a random spear unit and I just forgot them. I just forgot them. I have no idea why. I can't explain it. Things happen, I'm taking a look at the Alethanar's item here. Okay, so yeah, this is 221. So if I didn't Vanguard deploy, I mean, it's still not bad. It's still missile resistance and an aura. I mean, I guess against other archer factions like the Dark Elves, like it's still probably a good call, even if you're not Vanguard deploying, honestly. Probably wouldn't bring it against, like, I don't know, vampire counts. you could probably say that would be a waste. But in any case, it's still it's an expensive item, but I guess I would bring that in different situations. Vampire coasts, would I bring it against the vampire? I mean, I guess. Yeah, I guess I would. Because it would still apply to enemy artillery, right? Because artillery is still missile damage. So yeah, I guess, yeah. Sure, I'll bring that. They did not bring the Moonbow, though, which is going to be the magic missile ability. I honestly don't remember how good or bad this is. But it is pretty expensive, and you only get 2 charges for it, so maybe I understand why they didn't bring it. But they did not bring Mislead either. Huh. I think Mislead's pretty good. I don't know why they didn't bring this one. In any case, sorry, I got kind of caught up here on Aelith Anar. Let's go watch a cinematic view of the battle, everybody. My poor harpies just get caught. Oh god, just shredded. I was overly worried about the Sisters of Avalorn. I should have waited to charge them because they're just getting shot up by these guys. And then my poor sorceress. I don't know what I was like. Oh, I was maybe a little too bold with her, a little bit. I was like, she can tie up a unit, hit him with the Melkos Mystifying Miasma, and then just keep him there for the Bleak Swords to catch up. Yeah, I mean, maybe. But not when you have all those archers shooting at her. At least one group of harpies made it. These sisters just did not care about them. I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, it looks like I gave them an attack order on the sisters or the dragon princes, but the wrong time. I don't know. This one looks pretty cool. See its face. You keep turning away from the oh my god. Every way I turned, it kept like, no, I don't want you to see my face. Oh! Oh! Jesus. I think he's dead. Walking through. There goes Aelith Anar. Wasn't much of a line battle here. Kind of just quickly went into like everyone's just everywhere. Not gonna last long against those executioners, though. Not exactly the fight the sisters want to be in. God, these love the Seaguard get it from both of the Executioners and a Charybdis. Oh, God. For a moment, it looked like the Cryptus was going to attack the tree. But no, it was just a high elf that it was eating. Let's see, we got some harpies over here. What was left of my poor cold ones managed to charge in and then rout and shatter like immediately. It's almost as if they were punishing me for leaving them alone with spearmen. Catch a couple of them, but we just didn't pin them all. Look at that burst of speed. How dare you sprint? And then I was like, well, we're just going to have to turn around and charge here. Try and get some kind of bonus, but didn't exactly pan out. Then they get hit with regrowth. The Cryptus was almost there. It takes so much damage in this exchange. All the systems just pounding it. Thank goodness for its missile resistance. If it didn't have that, it probably would have routed, I imagine. Because it would have been taking 35% more damage from these missiles. Luckily, it did not go that way. So thank you for watching, everybody. I'll see you all next time. Take care.